Hello and good afternoon. Welcome back to a very important session of two-day APAC Virtual Manufacturing Conclave. This session is all about digital transformation leaders from the automobile industry and automobile ecosystem along with industry leaders. Now, the name of this session is Technology-Driven Future of Automobile and Auto Ecosystem. Before we start the session and introduce the speakers, let me give you an overview of what this event is all about. This event is all about bringing the digital transformation leaders from various sectors of manufacturing ecosystem, be it pharma, FMCG, retail, automobile, and also from industry leaders. So yesterday we had the inaugural session in which we saw the presence of CEO and MD of Guidance Tamil Nadu, who talked about the vision of setting up manufacturing industry in the state of Tamil Nadu. Along with that, we had the MD of UP Desco from the state of Uttar Pradesh. And then we had 2 to 3 panel discussions yesterday, one, making FMCG more profitable and efficient through technology, digital disruptions in manufacturing sector vis-a-vis smart factories, digital manufacturing and lean manufacturing, and the panel discussion on take catalyst for India's core infrastructure builders. It was followed by 2 to 3 industry presentations by Creston, Siemens, and Morphisec, and a panel discussion on bringing down the digital barriers and designing the future workplace. Today, throughout the day, we have had several panel discussions on innovation-led manufacturing industry, importance of cybersecurity, leveraging blockchain and growing role of Cios, and digital disruptions in transportation and logistics, digitally transforming energy and utility sector. And right away, we're discussing a very important aspect of manufacturing ecosystem, that is about the automobile and auto ecosystem. And parallelly, we're having another session on digitization of the pharma industry in the new normal. With this, let me take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed speakers for this panel. Let me first introduce to all of you, we have with us Mr. Manish Patel, CIO, Morris Graduates India Private Limited. We welcome Mr. Manish. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have with us Dr. Balakrishnan AS, Vice President, Material Planning and Logistics, Ford Motor Private Limited. We welcome Mr. Balakrishnan. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have with us Joe Robertson, EMEA CISO and Senior Evangelist, Fortinet. We welcome Joe. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have with us Mr. Kishore Vegada, Head IT, Mahensaria Group. We have with us Mr. Amol Deshpande, Head of Digital, Mahindra and Mahindra. We have with us Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Jain, Group CIO, Krishna Maruti Group, Mr. Rajiv Mittal, CIO, Endurance Technologies, and Mr. Manjunath Prasad, Head IT, TVS and Sons Private Limited, and Mr. Mohit Gupta, Group Chief Information Security Officer, Samvardhana Motherson International Limited. With this, let me have the first question to Mr. Manish Patel. Manish, what is the operating model of an automobile company and how does technology drive this business? Your thoughts on that?
So, if you take automobile manufacturing, it's complex. It could be manual, it could be automated. And again, tagged with manufacturing comes in different functions, which are supply chain management, quality functions, which are corely integrated with manufacturing. I think just as we hit the pandemic, we as an OEM, and I can speak about MG India, right? There were a lot of things that we had to do from a digitization perspective, right from the time an employee enters the premises to the time he exits, to the core technology that we had to deploy to ensure that as and when the production resumes or ramps up, we are ready for it. Given that we are just close to 4.5 years old company, and thanks to the parent company, we had the right investments in place as a foundation to tackle most, if not all, the issues. Okay, so we were not in that legacy environment of our infrastructure and application layer, which could have asked for high investments, unlike some other OEMs which might be in legacy environment. So that's where we stand.
Right investment in place. Luckily for MG, that was Manish was saying that. I'll come back to you, Manish. Let's have a perspective from Dr. Balakrishnan is Vice President of Material Planning and Logistics of Ford Motor Private Limited. Dr. Balakrishnan, how are the automobile companies looking at enhancing the customer and employee experience through technology? Your thoughts on that?
It's a great question. First of all, thanks to APAC for having me in this conclave. I see a lot of CIOs and directors and digital veterans, and I'm basically an operation guy. Just on that question, Souvik, the thoughts are, see the models, the business models are changing, like what Mr. Manish has rightly pointed. COVID situation basically brought a lot of changes the way we need to deal things. And just purely from my perspective, automotive companies are having multiple systems. When I say system, I'm not talking an IT system, I'm talking basically a business system, right? You start from your customer interface, right? So right from customer interface, and then you do a product development, and you come down to order fulfillment, and then production and distribution, and then your after sales service. The entire systems all has to connect and work with together to meet the market demand, right? And I clearly see the IT or the digital influence in each and every system. And if you take all these baskets, it all has to sync together in terms of an orchestra, like to hear a good music, right? So I think that's what exactly happening there. And few examples I can kind of narrate, especially on the customer experience and the employee experience, that what you pointed. The customer experience, if you see it, Tesla's model, direct to consumer, D2C, right? So recently, we in Ford in China, we have started that model, which of course with a lot of technologies like your virtual reality, your mixed reality, and how we can bring that shopping experience to customer. When customer comes inside, and how they can build their own configuration in terms of picking the right model, right variants. I think that is going very well. It's a disruptive model, I can say. I mean, in 100 years, we used to produce, give it to dealer, a dealer ensures the customer, I mean, selling it to customer. That entire model is changing. I can say shopping experience is one classic example. Similarly, on the employee experience side, the onboarding of employees. Like last 2 years, we were hiring people without seeing them. I mean, in terms of after COVID came in, how are we hiring the entire onboarding, the recruitment, and taking care of them and giving them that gamifying experience of how the facilities is going to look like. Purely, it's changing, right? So I think that's where I can think of example in customer experience and employee experience. There are plenty of examples. I just want to share this too. Thank you.
Right. There are plenty of experience which Dr. Balakrishnan can share, and I'm sure others will also share. I'll come back to you and to other speakers. But before that, I want to ask a question to Manish again. Manish, what are the challenges do you think the CIOs are facing in the digital transformation journey, especially for automobile sector? If you can shed some light.
So one obvious thing, as I talked about, is investment. Second, and again, investment is to pull forward, right? Basis the requirement of what a customer or a dealer, how does a customer or a dealer interact with each other, interact with the OEM, right? What we did as an OEM, I could share a couple of examples. Like Bala was saying, virtual digitization. So we had that in place as a test case in a couple of cities. We did test it out. And again, I mean, no disrespect to the consumers in India, but we as consumers would like to touch and feel the product before even we buy it, right? There were a mixed bag of customers who said, yes, I would take it. Some say, no, I would not, right? We limited that experience just for the visualization of the product. Obviously, once a customer decides to have a test drive, it's physically required. We went an added step during the pandemic to even do the entire user experience or the consumer experience, right from buying to paying for the product online. And the delivery could be made either at a showroom or at the customer's residence or office. So that was something that we added up. Again, I mean, this were foresighted in the near future, but just because of the pandemic, we had to pull forward a lot of these things that we talk about now, which is a given actually now. Let's say we are we are in the endemic mode, right? But now, since we have already given something to the customer, it's a given thing. You cannot just pull it back and say, hey, I would like to constrain a consumer from interacting with an OEM or a dealership now. On the supply chain management, again, we had the challenges, logistics challenges, including global container visibility. Not much we could have done on that, but there were certain challenges which we overcame. Also, from a manufacturing perspective, we do not have homerooms in our country, right? Unlike the Hyundais or Suzukis or Mahindras of the world. Launching a product was a bit tough. We normally used to have people inside the plant when we were at the launch stage of a product. But at a given point in time, a lot of things had to be done virtually to make and ensure that people are seeing the right things. They can recommend something to be remediated when it comes to finalizing the builds, finalizing the equipments on the line on which these vehicles are supposed to run, right? A lot of digitization was done from that perspective also. And now, at one point in time, we thought this would never have been attained, right? Now it's, again, we have been doing this for the last 2 products that we have launched in the market. It's a given thing. We can avoid people to come down to the plant from our home rooms, and even suppliers, when the suppliers are not present physically, when somebody is putting up a new product and a new line into the plant, it's a given thing that things can be done, and we did it actually. Thing is, can we continue to do that, right? Having made that investment, now can we continue to do that? Certain aspects or certain areas do require people to be physically present. Right? There are situations where some things will not turn up right, and at that point in time, you require physically people to be there. But other than that, I think we are there. Sorry.
Right. Thanks, Manish. I'll come back to you again that you talk about investment, challenges of virtual digitization, supply chain logistical problems. We have with us Joe Robertson, EMEA CISO and Senior Evangelist of Fortinet. Joe, you heard about the problems, challenges of automobile digital ecosystem. You heard from the digital transformation leaders. Joe, your thoughts on this, that you heard about the challenges and how can this be overcome? And also, if you talk about data, digital disruption, there are a lot of data being nurtured, generated. How do you ensure cybersecurity to that ecosystem? Your thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to thank you for inviting me to this conversation, because it's actually very important to keep in mind that the whole digital transformation that this industry is going through is marvelous for being able to make your manufacturing smart and agile. It's fabulous for the amount of data that we're able to get from the vehicles, from the subsystems, creating a cloud, an automotive cloud ecosystem. And that ties into that customer experience that Mr. Manish was talking about, and being able to provide the customer with what they're interested in. But the problem that we all have to look at on that side is that it's not just our customers and our partners that are trying to use these systems. There are bad actors. There are attackers who are willing to go in and try to disrupt, try to hold companies for ransom, et cetera. And so the problems that that CIOs here that you've started talking about and that I see in the automotive sector with the customers that I deal with, the companies that I deal with, it's really down to being able to put in place defense in depth. So integrating the thinking about security into the entire process. It's not something that you bolt on at the end. You build it into the applications. You build it into your infrastructure. I think of it as for many, many years in all industries, but it was very clear in automotive, the network for the production systems was separate from the network for business systems, and that was separate from the thinking about security. Security was kind of a box that was sitting off to the side. And the convergence of IT and OT, so the production and IT, has just accelerated tremendously in the last few years. And the convergence of networking and security is happening now. And so really my thinking is that in all of the challenges that we go through in manufacturing and production and this delivery of automobiles, security needs to be one of those factors that we're thinking about. It's not the most important. There's no one most important, but it can't be ignored because it's going to come back and bite you in the bum, as we say, if you don't take care of it.
Security can't be ignored. That was Joe was talking, and you also talked about connecting networking and security and making the manufacturing ecosystem more agile and smarter. As you rightly said, that security perspective, security aspect should be imbibed in depth to the entire ecosystem. That should not be seen as in a silo. I'll come back to Joe. We have with us Mr. Amol Deshpande, Head of Digital, Mahindra and Mahindra. Welcome, Amol. Amol, how are the newer technologies like AI, analytics, AR, VR are being used in the auto sector, and how well they are being used? Your thoughts on that?
Sure. Thanks, Vivek. Happy to be here and let's be a part of this conversation. A very interesting one. Manish, kind of talked about the kind elements which are there. Dr. Balakrishnan talked about some of the components which they are trying, and see, these new technologies are going to be an inevitable part of our lives. The challenge, what we see, it's not only from an automotive company, but typically from a manufacturing sector and industry at large. It is going to be a part of our everyday lives, right? As simple, the AI has gotten into every aspect of our life. So industry cannot be agnostic to it. Industry cannot be outside of it. Today, your mobile phone is the biggest example of what AI is doing for you. And I would go back to what Manish said, right? That if you give something to customers, they take it for granted. It's very difficult to take it back. But I would just put it differently, Manish, that, if something else, some other experience is available that is expected as a default, and that experience is being put in abundance in the hands of today's customers through the mobile devices, which are very, very heavily using the AI and analytics part of it. Most of us use the smart tools, whether it is the office tools. The email prompts us that what you want to write next. That's easy but scary at the same time. But those are the kind of things, the mind reading capabilities are expected in the industry as well when we are dealing with. So those are something which is not nice to have anymore. Those are very much here. Pandemic has pushed many things forward than otherwise its adoption curve or implementation curve it would have seen into the industry. Specifically speaking about the manufacturing operations, the full 9 yards of Industry 4.0 is still a far-fetched dream. People are implementing the components which make sense to them, right? What is it driving for you? Whether you are focusing on your manufacturing operations efficiency, whether you are focusing on the preventive maintenance, whether you are focusing on, and for the new generation plants, right? See, Joe mentioned about the IT and OT, right? And there was a mention of employee experience. See, today's plants have changed, right? Tomorrow's plants are going to be drastically different. The question would come that how much minimal people you will need, how much minimal physical contact you will need, and can these be the plants, right? Now, with Mahindra being the first on the network plant in India way back in 2010, that was the kind of establishment. These challenges and these experiences are evolving, but very, very specifically speaking, at a much, much faster rate. So it's important that we choose and implement those areas of the various aspects which are in front of us. One interesting thing is about AR and VR I would like to share, and what we feel and we have realized. See, AR and VR has in my mind, two specific areas of implementation. One is from the operations side of it, any manufacturing sector, not only automotive, but any manufacturing company for that matter, and from a customer experience perspective, right? So where you are using it for product demonstration, or giving something more experiences and convenience, putting it into the hands of customers. However, the unexplored area on AR VR is in terms of the operations area, right? How will you be in a position to use AR VR in the hazardous working conditions? And there it offers a lot of promise, right? A painting is a very good example of it, and my friends from the automotive companies would agree that it is one of the most critical elements. The paint makes a lot about your product. How do you bring in the consistency when humans are painting? Not everywhere you are using robots, right? How do you train them? Training an individual into such things. Going away from automotive industry and going to at large things, this is into oil and gas also. How do you train a person to operate into a situation where it's a hazardous condition? How do you teach people before they get onto the job that which kind of machine they are going to work with, what kind of operations they are getting into it? So it's a mix of employee experience. It's a mix of how you put the technology to use to solve a specific business problem, right? We heard about the investments and others. So I think the key thing for me and for the industry also at large is that what is that problem you want to solve, and how much money you want to put behind it, leveraging what set of technologies. But yes, this reality remains that everybody wants the experience and component of these new generation technologies, ranging from artificial intelligence to AR, VR to the cloud-based operations. That's practically on every CDO, CIO agenda, no matter what industry you're operating.
Right, Anmol. Very interesting take. Industry can't be agnostic to the use of new technologies. There's no denial of that fact. But a very important part you've talked about in terms of AR, VR, operational and customer experience. We are already using AR, VR, but you're saying that there's a lack of using AR, VR for a scenario where hazardous scenario has emerged. So maybe there's a scope for using AR, VR for hazardous scenario, as well as for critical event management. We are going through a pandemic. A lot of things are happening. So maybe we can use newer technologies, maybe AI, AR, VR for critical event management as well. I'll come back to you, Anmol. Let's have a perspective from Manjunath Prasad, head IT, TVS and Sons Private Limited. Mr. Manjunath, your thoughts on how we are using newer technologies in the automobile sector, or they are being used optimally?
Yeah, thanks, Manager. I think my fellow panelists have answered many of the things. Adding to what they have said, what we are exploring big is on the IoT part. So we are exploring more on the IoT things where we can put in the dongles into the vehicle servicing part and see how we can study the data analytics part and help the customer give the proactive information and handle the system in a better hygiene condition. So that's where we are exploring big on the IoT part. And then on the second thing is on the data analytics part. As our data is coming out from various sources, be it from both from the dongles as well as from the Facebooks, Instagrams and all. The sources of data has increased today, not just the devices alone. So integrating those things and analyzing those things and coming out with this, definitely we need tools, and that's where we are banking on these AI/ML tools to deliver the solution to us. That's what we are exploring on.
Right. Sourcing of data, and because it's huge data being generated and how there's been sourced, and analytics is going to play a very important part, and there you're using AI and ML. I'll come back to you, Manjut. I must see you were crisp and short, but I'll come to you again. Let's have a perspective from Mr. Mohit Gupta, Group Chief Information Security Officer, Samvardhana Motherson International Limited. Mr. Mohit, if I may ask you that, what are the techniques like lean manufacturing, additive manufacturing being used in the auto or the auto ancillary industry? Your thoughts on that? Mr. Mohit, if you can unmute your mic, please.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry. I was speaking on mute. So, lean and additive both have their unique and important places in automotive, and I guess that in general manufacturing also. And they both obviously complement each other. These are some of the practices which are not new. Obviously, lean manufacturing has its own place for almost 2 or 3 decades, or a little more. I personally believe that lean manufacturing is more of a philosophy that strive to shorten the timeline right from the customer order and the shipment of that final product, which is where we eliminate the consistency in the way wastes are identified, and thereby obviously it reduce the cost and improve the overall efficiency. For example, as facilities grow and change, as in when we procure the machines, we normally place these machines wherever we find the spaces. But over time, this obviously leads to huge amount of wastage because of the motion wastage when employees are to move from one space to another and things like that, which is where Kaizen and multiple lean manufacturing practices are generally being adopted. And then the over time, as you finally identify, ordering and organizing your facility in order of operations certainly leads to save a lot of time and energy, which is where it helps do this optimization both at the cost as well as the speed of delivery front. I guess on lean manufacturing, in one another example, what you would do is that many companies make the wasteful mistake, if I may say so, wasteful mistake of overproducing the products that they generally make. I mean, it could be spare parts for some of the old models, or the thinking is that if they make the product in bulk or in large batches, it will cost less per product, and obviously thereby saving money. But the reality is a little different, which is where we don't at times realize that overproducing also leads to the requirement of extra storage, which is also a cost, isn't it? Which obviously costs money. And in addition, if the demand of that product drops for whatever good bad reasons, you could be left holding that inventory into your warehouse, which is where I guess that lean manufacturing again guides companies to produce as closer to customer demand. And I guess that if at all I start to talk about how additive manufacturing and those principles complement this, it is so easy in terms of, I mean, in easy terms, additive manufacturing is nothing but 3D printing, which is making significant impact in the way you revolutionize the way you are managing the inventory, or for that matter, using the predictive analysis. Manufacturers are able to forecast what could be the manufacturing need, and thereby only produce what is again near to the demand of what customers are making. So and obviously there are similar cases, which is where you develop and create prototypes, localization of manufacturing, which also reduce the cost of shipping. And how do you actually through localized manufacturing, through the make use of wherever especially the JIT operations are being followed in all those manufacturing plants just in time, you're able to not only reduce the shipping time, but also speed of the delivery, where JIS is also getting added to the JIT, and thereby quick response and fast turnaround wherever is required, which is where these additive manufacturing are helping. Yeah.
Right, Mohit. You talked about how the lean manufacturing actually helps a manufacturing setup, especially when you talked about overproductivity, which results in up cost and also maybe wastage. And their lean manufacturing can be of help. You all talked about additive manufacturing. Come back to you. Mohit, let's have a perspective from Mr. Rajiv Mittal, CIO, Endurance Technologies. So, Mr. Rajiv, we are talking about digital transformation, innovation, everything. But how does the connectivity situation in India is allowing manufacturers to more technologies for automated remote production? We know there are connectivity issues out there. So automated remote production is very important. Your thoughts on that?
See, from the connectivity point of view, as we all witnessed, that it is improving because infrastructure is improving in very good manner. So all associated systems or associated companies who are provider of the connectivity are basically improving their infrastructure, and we are very comfortably in today's world are able to do the things remotely. But as far as the manufacturing is concerned, manufacturing and producing product remotely is still a challenge because the person has to be near the machine. Okay, if it is a very automated plant and completely automated machinery, probably the remote working can be done, can be aligned for certain aspects. But as far as the material handling is concerned, the process integration is concerned. So there has to be a person near to the floor and near to the line for the manufacturing point of view. So, of course, it's a combination. Some people work on physically, some people work on the machinery, some people work remotely, especially setting up the things, programming on the machinery, because today most of the machinery is programmable, and especially I'm talking about the automotive companies. So whether it's a OEM, automotive vehicle manufacturer, or tier 1 supplier, or tier 2 or tier 3, so all are integrated. So every machine is having certain programs, certain command center mechanism to produce the product. Those things can be easily handled remotely, and which have been proved, especially in pandemic time, when a lot of workforce was working, doing work from home and work from anywhere kind of concept. So which is largely supported by all technological setup, largely supported by the enablement done by the respective organizations in their facilities, with the ecosystem of the partners and the other technology providers. So I would say this has proven in better way, this has proven in very decent way, and going forward, this is going to take further lead, and we can see many more developments and the enablement in this area.
Right. As Rajiv was saying that it should be a combination of physical, machine, and remote. Being banking terms, we said physical and digital. I'm thinking Rajiv is talking on the same line. But yes, I think there'll be a mix because of the pandemic, the new world order. There will be a mix of everything where we work remotely or we are present in the floor and we're using technology and machinery together. I think that kind of combined effort will be there in future. I'll come back to Rajiv. Let's have a perspective from Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Jain, Group CIO, Krishna Maruti Group. Sanjeev, your thoughts on the same question which I asked to Rajiv, that how does the connectivity situation in India allow auto manufacturers to use more technologies for automated remote production?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. And thanks to be part of the thing. As Rajiv has rightly said that the manufacturing setup, when we talk about, I being from a component manufacturing for the automobile things, and where safety is the biggest concern for us, the parts which we produce, because the safety of the vehicle depends upon the parts which we are producing for the OEMs and all other things. Sometimes it's very difficult really to say that remote production facility is possible to do, because most of the things what we talk about is very labor intensive works to be done as of now. We are working with a legacy manufacturing setups in the organization which are 30 or 40 years old. And the machines currently are not capable enough to really say that we can remotely handle everything into it. But at the same time, as Joe was talking about, that IT-OT marriage has started into the things where a lot of things have really started to combine that, okay, what was previously being done by the OT team in a separate network without even any automation part of it. Now, at least with this pandemic in place for the last 2 years or so, the managements have really thought of it that why can't we merge the IT and OT part? I think so. This was a huge shift into the IT OT sector that the convergence has really happened. And this convergence has really given benefit of the fact that a lot of maintenance activities or machine repairs, which were happening basically on a physical basis, now has shifted to the remote basis. Today, when the traveling was totally stopped, and it was not that the machines were not getting down, but at this particular time, we were able to utilize the remote working facility being available into the machines by putting into the network of the IT and getting the person from a distant country to look into the machines and repair it or set up the parameters, whatever was needed by the things. The other things which are coming up, the benefit which has come up really was that we, a component manufacturer, we have to really work with the OEMs hand to hand for their future developments of the products or the models they are coming up. It might be that the product which is going to come after 3 years or 4 years has to be aligned with the component manufacturers by the OEM 3 years before the time, and then we have to simulate that particular part. And currently, everything was in-house. We were doing everything in-house so that the IPR of the OEM is not lost from our things, because it could be a catastrophic thing that in case the model leakage happens, and then there could be a really damage to the organization or the OEM part of it. So with this pandemic, we really have to open up that we could not stop our work. We cannot stop the work of the OEM model launch dates. So we started opening up the IPR part of it with a lot of security to be built into place to really see that the work doesn't stop. And a lot of things which are, if I talk about R&D data and R&D softwares which were there, like I talk about designing software, they were bandwidth extensively being used by these things, and the requirement changes of the data security and everything has to be done into it. We really had a hard time on that thing, and we really looked towards our guys from the security landscape, that how they can really protect us and can give the confidence to the OEMs also that, okay, the IPR they are talking about is being really saved into that things. So these are the major thing, but on the other part of it, as Rajiv was talking about, the things are improving, but still in the remote locations where we have remote plants, your ISP availability or bandwidth availability is sometimes a challenge. When we are starting opening up the IoT part, implementation of the IoT part onto the machines, so much data is being generated into it that it is sometimes becomes very difficult with the limited bandwidth to push the data to a cloud model and then get the analysis done or anything, use of AI or ML part of it onto the cloud and then really come back to it. We were looking for some vision control inspection-based system to be implemented into the organization in one of the remote locations. But somehow we have to drop that particular thing because the bandwidth availability by the bigger players in that particular region was not even there. And when we are talking about the vision control to be done through a cloud-based model, every part which is going to be visualized now is going to be first of all, the part pictures will be taken and it is going to be there to the cloud for the comparison and come back immediately so that the decision can be taken. Suppose my connectivity breaks in between that thing, my whole production line will stop. So we really have to take care of all those things. We need to understand the things before going for a new technology adoption, because everybody is not talking about cloud to be implemented. But at the same time, a lot of things are still missing. The cost of the things, because we have to really fast forward a lot of projects in IT, keeping in mind the mindset change of the top managements also are the owners of the organization, that they go into the and looking into the jargon words by the great friends in the market that, okay, this AI, ML, deep learning, cloud, and all those things are there. But reality of the things is on the different way. The cost involved into putting all these things is not that easy to really capture. We are working on razor thin margins when we talk about the component to be supplied to the OEM. OEM cut down his cost of the vehicle to really push it to the customer. In turn, we have to give a 2x cost reduction onto our component, whereas we are talking about new technology implementations to be put into place, which is not cheap as of now. It is so costly to really adopt any technology. So it becomes sometimes a hurdle to take that particular part. So this is what my thoughts are. I think so. My friends really will be able to put more light on that.
Right, Sanjeev, thanks. Maintenance of machine now being done remote through remote walking mode. You talked about that. You also talked about challenges of ISP, whether those can be done if there is no connectivity. Those are the challenges, but you also talked about the security challenges of working in a remote scenario. I'll take a perspective from Joe on this. Joe, what are your thoughts? What are the global best practices when you talk about the remote working, the security aspect, that apprehension is there? Your thoughts on that, Joe?
That's a very important subject in manufacturing, in the automobile business, and everywhere else. And the absolute minimum with this convergence of IT and OT is to be putting in place a blockage between those two networks, having a firewall, a next generation firewall, which will filter the traffic between the IT and the OT world. So only authorized traffic gets through, but that's really not enough. What we're seeing is, and we're recommending a best practice is to try to sub-segment all of the manufacturing environments. So, for example, have each separate production line in a building, in a factory that is in a separate network, essentially a separate segment with firewalls in between them, so that if an attacker does get into one of those devices somehow, and there's lots of ways we know that they can get in, there is only a limited range of movement that he can go. He can't take down the entire factory. He can only attack what's in that segment. And we're getting to the point where we're even, I've worked with manufacturers who are putting each individual device in a separate segment. So that all traffic goes through policies in a firewall. That can be extended out to the remote access, so that when we have remote maintenance and remote software updates of the manufacturing machinery, that that access to the manufacturer of that machinery is only to the specific device that they are responsible for. They don't just get a VPN access to the entire network. That is a very dangerous way of dealing with the remote access, but it's the way most companies have been doing it lately. Until very recently, it was difficult to narrow down the target of a maintenance agent for only his or her machine. But that's what we need to do to keep attackers from getting in and spreading around. So segmentation and refined zero trust access is what we call it, so that maintenance person only has access to his or her machines.
Right. I'll come back to you, Joe. Thanks for those insights. Let's have a perspective from Mr. Kishore Vegada, Head of IT, Mahan Saria Group. Mr. Kishore, if I may ask you this, what is your thought for implementing analytics server and UI or UX? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so thank you very much, APAC and my co-panelists. I'm having lots of lists is available because see, we as a Mansaria, we just started our company just before 3 years ago, and almost our 2 plants are operational, and most of the things what Mr. Sanjeev and Mr. Amol has explained that we have already done. So first I will answer you about, you must say, this analytics servers, and then I will pitch out about you must say rest of the things. See, basically analytics server will play a very crucial part, and being a you must say software development background, and because I started my journey from a you must say development side only, I very well give more emphasis on you must say what basically application you are going to develop, what will be your user experience, what basically, because you are making something for you must say somebody, you don't know their choice, you don't know their preferences, etc. So what to do? So basically that concept of you must say putting these analytics servers and approach came in a picture. And once I am talking about analytics kind of mindset, Google is a brahmastra for all the things, and Google Analytics is playing very major role even for our business also, because we are in a B2B and basically we are OTR tire manufacturer, and 95% of our business is for we are doing export of our tires. So what we are seeing this one is a 360-degree customer experience for my distributor or my end user. What pattern they wanted to, what kind of size is going on, what kind of you may say geography they used to believe, what kind of you may say various you may say data source, as Manjunath was explaining, various data sources available. So we nowadays, because you are getting leads from you may say various way. And in previous assignment, when I was in a Fanuc is a robotics company. You people are aware about that thing. So we wanted to give you a 360-degree kind of thing. We have integrated CTI solution. We have given them mobile apps. We have also given them certain portals. So more and more boutique you are going to give. That will give you, that will 101%. That is going to give you a plus, yeah, or you must have some mileage in your business. That is number one. Yes, Manish has rightly said, whatever you will give, they will demand something or third thing is that even though it is our duty to provide them a much more secure platform with analytics. Now, once we are talking about analytics, lots of data is coming. In which format you are going to, what is your mindset, where you wanted to trigger, where you wanted to take, what is your prima facie, you may say, your willingness or aim, that does part very well. So yes, lots of analytical tools, lots of freewares is available. I understood that my couple of panel member were asking about you would say ROI or you would say bigger investment kind of thing. I will like to request them, lots of you may say affordable solution available, especially in India. I will especially advocate for you may say Google Analytics or you may say Tableau or even you may say Zoho, etc. So that is a one part there I wanted to tell you. Yes, Souvik, I am just taking your couple of more minutes because see, being a startup company, so we are not a startup, but our promoters, Mr. Mansaria, they are the ex-promoter of ATG Tires. So they are the veteran for you say OTR segment. But yes, we have started this entire journey during epidemic, and COVID has changed the entire landscape for yes, typical IT department. Typical IT department, your IT head, CIO, CTO will sit down and they will do some kind of you say digital transformation, etc. No, now IT became the business enabler. So that is what very paradigmic shift has happened. Second thing is that what we have done, see, entire as Mr. Sanjeev was telling, that our couple of you may say crucial machinery erection, because it was a plant erection. Without that one, we cannot start our production, etc. So a couple of our OEM were sitting in Italy, China, etc. And it was very difficult due to travel restriction they can visit. So we have created a secure channel along with you may say FortiGate. We have thought behind you may say that hacker, etc. We have also implemented a couple of you may say advanced threat protection like 0-day and you may say on current or live kind of you may say analytics, etc. And the secure channel we have provided you must seamless kind of erection for our two plants. That is what we have achieved. Second thing is that yes, people were talking about you must say these are a very fancy kind of technologies. Somebody will talk about IoT, blockchain, etc. But yes, like you may surprise that manufacturing company like us who has done the you must say mercenary erection with you may say AR VR glass, and that is where we have achieved the things. Third thing, you will get surprised. In this last 1.5 year, we made elephant to dance. See, I forgotten either Mr. Rajiv or Manish was telling that somewhere you need to go physically, means you have to go physically. But ERP implementation you cannot do remotely. And we are very much fortunate. We were sitting in a headquarter in Mumbai, and we have done the entire rollout of our first phase of ERP rollout in both the plant remotely entire. Thanks to digitalization, thanks to your you may say various you may say efficiency tools like your Teams, your you may say chart, your you may say various platform we have used. Entire SDLC life cycle from requirement gathering to solution designing to user training. Can you imagine? See our plant. Yes, Mr. Sanjeev was telling rightly. In a remote location, they are living, they are doing that, they are working on you may say various kind of shift. You are not going physically there, but entire thing we have done remotely. It was a you must say long learning kind of experience. And yes, I am very much thankful to my management because see, Mr. Mansaria has given me that thought. So You people are thinking, doing so much, you may say, things in remotely. Why don't you try for, you may say, ERP
Right.
as a remote implementation? It was a great learning experience, and still that journey is going on. And yes, a pandemic has changed the, you may say, uh, IT department, IT's importance. And one more thing we have given focus is that so weak that we didn't ignore IT security, but in fact, due to digitalization, due to remote working, we have given number one preference to IT security. Second preference we have given that even though we are in the starting of operation, we will do each and every transaction with ERP only. Third thing is that we are not shying away from any technology. Right now, we are doing, you may say, warehouse management and that rollout. And yes, Sanjeev has rightly said, connectivity is going to be a very big issue. Currently, just before, you may say, 2-3 months ago, I faced the same problem of, you may say, connectivity, because where, you may say, India's renowned telecom service provider, only one person is available. Second is local things is available. I wanted to do a couple of, you may say, POCs of, you may say, handheld devices, where I will put GSM card, and I can save lots of money in my, you may say, warehouse, because typically in a OTR tire warehouse will be in a bigger size. So in that one, I wanted to save that cost, but yes, that didn't work it out. Why? Because of that connectivity. Then I have shipped the model of, you may say, handheld device, etc. So yes,
Right.
before we are talking to, you may say, any fancy technology, your infrastructure, your backbone must be ready. The same thing, and I am very much hopeful that when 5G is going to roll out, the picture will be different. It may be mobility, it may be your IoT. You are going to see a very big, you may say, revolution kind of, you may say, picture, the way you have seen, you may say, after telecom revolution happen in India. So that is what my takeover, my thoughts.
Right.
Yeah, over to you.
Thanks, Mr. Kishore. That was quite insightful, and a lot of practical things have been told by you. I'll take what you said at last, that the 5G rollout will be a game changer. We are all hoping for that. That will also help in digital innovation in various sectors, not only manufacturing sector. I think we have very little time in our hand, but maybe I can ask a question, and then the same question can be answered by all of you. I'll start with Mr. Manish. Manish, if I say that digital innovation fueled by hybrid cloud and AI, this will be the future of automobile sector in India in the years to come by. Do you support this statement or not? Quickly, a minute to you.
Again, I mean, Shoaik, we have seen the opinions of other leaders in this forum, right? I mean, honestly, it varies person to person, company to company. I would say I support it. Okay, just like any other CIO or head of information technology or a digitization leader would like to have it done, right? The end game is, would you get the funding for it, right? Certainly, there are things that you can do, like prioritization. I mean, you don't need to do everything all together, right? If you are able to prioritize and show it to the business that this is what is critical, I'm sure it can be done, right? So I will just stop at that.
Thank you. Thank you for being precise and crisp and short. Thank you. It makes my life easy. Dr. Balakrishnan Hayes, your thoughts on that?
I fully support, no doubt, because see, this is going to help disruption, right? Disruptive business model. This innovation, I can say disruption, sustenance, and then economy. Try to bring that economy. It's a cycle, right? If you want to really grow something, you really need to start doing something. The thought process is you can start small and scale up fast, right? So I mean, if whatever the business value it is going to give, it's a business case driven, like Mr. Kishore was indicating. You have various options available in the market where you can try to pick and choose, right? But I think to summarize, it's a right way to go about. I fully support.
Right.
Thank you.
Amol, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So see, there is no second thought that whether these would exist or not, or with the industries need or not. So I definitely support. Agree with what Manish said, but I would just leave with one thought: whether it's your prioritization, whether it is your business case, whether it is about your funding, choice of technology in these new, technology stacks, what you just mentioned. The devil is in the detail. Okay, it all appears very easy, very straight when you look at it, but the devil is in the detail. It takes a lot of focus, perseverance, and like Dr. Balakrishnan said, small steps, small POCs. Make some fail quick, recover quick and move forward. If at all you come across any challenges in your road. So fully support. The future is that it's that how well you are prepared and in what way you embrace it.
Devil is in the detail. That was Amol's take. Let's have a take of Manjunath Prasad. Quickly, a minute to you, sir.
Well, no doubt about considering the business dynamics and the flexibility what we get, we have to definitely lean in the cloud part so that we are able to adapt to the changing requirements and we get the flexibility to mold our designs and the business expectations. So definitely I have to support it.
Okay, everybody is supporting this, but with a disclaimer, I think. Mr. Mohit, your thoughts on that?
Well, how can I not support? I guess that it certainly will have a larger impact in the way supply chain is happening. I guess while everyone is talking about Industry 4.0, there are many who are filling up the space of fifth industrial revolution with a meaning and purpose. I guess I advocate the statement that we need to identify these key technologies with business relevance, not just to adopt it, but what is relevant to the business, and then obviously outline a near to long-term technology adoption roadmap, keeping in view how connected supply chain looks like for your business.
Right, right. Rajiv, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this goes without say that because these technologies are enabling businesses, these technologies are enabling entire experience from that entire ecosystem. So yes, this is very much exist and this is going to be further improved. This is going to be further enhanced from the adoption point of view at each and every organization and support productivity, efficiency, visibility, and time to market, and enhancing the customer experience and enhancing the entire visibility in the entire chain, whether it's a supply chain or operations chain or within organization or outside organization. And as far as adaptability is concerned, yes, this also enable a good support from the highly adaptable solutions and the quickly configurable solutions. So definitely it is very much supported thing.
Right, right. Sanjeev Kumar Jain, your thoughts on that?
I would say that yes, it is. You cannot avoid that part, and with the 5G be in pipeline, I think so. We'll really need to look for the hybrid model where you have to balance out your edge and cloud implementations in a big way with Industry 4.0 in already in the implementation phases. So much data is going to be produced, so you have to really put in that data at the edge, massage the data, filter out the things, and then push it to the cloud. That would be the best option instead of having a complete cloud model being adopted by anything. So you have to really balance out the things. And with the helm of the things that digitalization is going to be the main thing, I think so. We really have to see that with what pandemic has taught us also is that you cannot be 100% in-premise, because it was a big challenge for companies who are having all in-premise data centers to keep the lights on during that 4 months period where people were not able to move out of their houses, and still the business has to run. And so I think so adoption of the hybrid model is going to be a big.
Right. Quickly, Kishore Vegada, 30 seconds to you, sir.
Yeah. So this is only one line. It's 101% I'm supporting. Second thing is that now things is going to be a data-driven decision, and data should be concurrent live data, as well as you must have a learning from your past data. All put to combine, it is AI or machine learning or your automation. That is how I will summarize that when your business demand, you have to adapt. If you are not adopting the things, somebody else will adopt and they will have a added advantage in business. So business will enforce you to adopt this technology. And I'm very much optimistic about Indian technology stacks as well as affordable technology stacks. And I'm hopeful that going forward, Indian companies will, at least they will put their budget for POC, and they will encourage success and failure both. So that is what from my side. Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Kishore. I'll end with Joe Robertson. Joe, data-driven decision and accordingly finding solutions. And obviously, we have to secure that data. Your thoughts on that? Quickly, 30 seconds to you, Joe.
Certainly, and you're absolutely right. The digital innovation is crucial to this sector, and it's the big advantage is it gives such agility that the company can and the organization can move, can respond, react, and when it comes to that environment, it's an unfortunate fact that we've got to have security, and security should be viewed not as an expense, but as an investment in agility. Because if you've got solid security that can provide flexible security that can change with the needs of the business, that investment is secure rather than just being a sunk cost. That's it.
Right, right. So according to Joe, security should not be seen as an expense, but an investment for long-term gain. We all end in this note. Thank you so much, Joe Robertson, Manish Patel, Dr. Balakrishnan A.S., Kishore Vigada, Amol Deshpande, Manjunath Prasad, Sanjeev Kumar Jain, Rajiv Mittal, and Mohit Gupta for joining us for this very important session of two-day APAC Manufacturing Conclave. This session was all about technology-driven future of automobile and auto ecosystem. I'm sure the discussions made in this panel were insightful. It was learning experience for me. I'm sure audience were present here, were watching it live. I've also gained some knowledge, insights about the digitization in the automobile industry. Thank you so much. But before we end, we have a small token of appreciation, recognition for all your efforts being the digital transformation leaders in the organization. We will be presenting you with the Leadership Excellence Award certificate right away. Can we have the certificates on screen, please? The first award goes to Mr. Manish Patel, CIO, Maurice Garages India Private Limited. It's our honor to hand over this Leadership Award certificate to you, Mr. Manish. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shovik. Appreciate it. Pleasure joining.
The second award goes to Dr. Balakrishnan A.S., Vice President, Material Planning and Logistics, Ford Motor Private Limited. It's again our honor to recognize your efforts, Mr. Dr. Balakrishnan.
Thank you, Mr. Sovik. Yeah, really appreciate it. Thank you.
The third award goes to Joe Robertson, EME, CISO, and Senior Evangelist, Fortinet. Congratulations, Joe, for being one of the esteemed speakers of this panel discussion.
Thank you very much. It's much appreciated.
Pleasure. The next award goes to Mr. Amol Deshpande, Head of Digital, Mahindra and Mahindra. It's our honor to recognize your efforts, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, and compliments to my fellow panelists.
The next award goes to Mr. Manjunath Prasad, Head of IT, TVS and Sons Private Limited. We congratulate Mr. Manjunath.
Thank you, Shovik. Thank you, everybody in the team.
The next award goes to Mr. Mohit Gupta, Group Chief Information Security Officer, Samvardhana Motherson International Limited. We congratulate Mr. Mohit. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, APAC team, and compliment to rest of the leaders. Thank you.
The next award goes to Mr. Rajiv Mittal, CIO, Endurance Technologies.
Thank you, Sovik, and congratulations to all fellow panelists.
Thank you, sir. The next award goes to Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Jain, Group CIO, Krishna Maruti Group.
Thank you, Shovik, and congratulations to all my friends.
Thank you, sir. And the last award goes to Mr. Kishore Vigada, Head of IT, Mahansaria Group. We congratulate Mr. Kishore for receiving this award.
Thank you very much, APAC and Sovik, and compliments to my panelists. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. With this, we come to the end of the two-day APAC Virtual Manufacturing Conclave, a very important session on the automobile sector. And we would like to thank our partners. Without their support, this event would not have been successful. Even our partner guidance, Tamil Nadu, Gold Partner, Siemens and Preston, Security Partner, Fortinet, Industry Automation Partner, Via, Active Intelligence Partner, Click, Associate Partners, Morphisec, and Choice Solutions Limited, and 60 plus speakers who have joined from the various sectors of manufacturing ecosystem, 60 plus CXOs, 5 plus government speakers, and 6 plus partners who have joined today. And the delegates, I've been told that there were 250 to 300 delegates who have attended this conference yesterday and today also. With this, we come to the end of two-day APAC Manufacturing Conclave. Thank you so much for joining us today. Keep following APAC pages in Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and keep supporting us. We'll be back with a very important event in the month of February. So that will be a virtual BFSI Innovation Conclave, in which we're going to see presence of 70 plus CXOs from the BFSI sector, and it will be followed by a Health Tech Innovation Conclave in the month of March, again, which will see the presence of healthcare CXOs and healthcare policymakers from the various parts of the country. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Take care. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Goodbye.
Day.